Privacy. Jay Bradley with Irish Craft Whiskey Co. Craft Irish Whiskey Co. Jarrett Preston's here with Idoneus, and other than Scott H. Weissman from TokenSociety. Just want to jump right in. If you could unpack, Scott, I'll just start with you to lay some foundation. Because you're with TokenSociety. You could share with the audience, the uninitiated, on exactly what the platform does.
I mean, we're an NFT minting platform. We're an NFT minting platform. We're concentrating on using NFTs to authenticate and one-off collectibles, authenticate different types of, besides art, authentication of, for example, the Craft Irish whiskey bottles, which are now placed on the Idoneus platform. Why don't you guys explain what is that? I have no voice. This is what I'm trying to talk about.
Thanks, Scott. So the name Idoneus, I think, vaguely familiar. Jarrett, with some of the audience here, has certainly heard it from us, and seen it out there a bit, but also laid some foundation. Generally, you've had a storied history in the collectible space, Jarrett.
Right, in high-value assets in general. So we've been in the asset trading business for 23 years. Basically, very simply, we move value, whether that's high-value whiskey or real estate or aircraft or diamonds or stock or cryptocurrency. We simply use blockchain technology to make our business more efficient, more transparent, easier, right, for our clients. And with Craft Irish Whiskey and TokenSociety, come together and we can help authenticate these assets before they come on the Idoneus platform, and then we can move value, such as multi-million-dollar bottles of whiskey, as in the case of the Emerald Isle that Idoneus acquired, and we can trade that out for other assets through the Idoneus platform and the Idon token. So it's really the old world of asset trading meeting the new world of technology and an asset-centric cryptocurrency model.
Certainly, and Jarrett, just to also lay more foundation on the relationships. A company like Craft Irish Whiskey Co. comes to you or really any high value, like you said, to use your words, we were listening, comes to you to help sell it and find the market for it. We get that right?
That's correct. So our clients are not looking necessarily for cash. They're looking for value. So the idea that you can trade value is very personal. There are people with $3 million homes that would trade for a $3 million bottle of whiskey, right? Not many of those. But you can go from whiskey to diamonds, from diamonds to real estate, from real estate to aircraft, from aircraft to a Bugatti, right? So we facilitate that value movement for clients all over the world through blockchain and through the Idon token.
It's like a master barter for that.
That's it. We like to say Marco Polo began, and we intend to finish it. So it's what we're doing. It's barter on the blockchain with high value, luxury focused assets. Art is a big part of what we do. We have everything from new artists who are upcoming talent that we help develop their reputation and develop their sales history to we have Rubens, Picassos at every level. So we've transacted over $500 million in value through the Idoneus platform in the last 22 months. And so it's moving pretty quickly for companies like Craft Irish Whiskey who have high quality products.
Congrats on that success, and we'll definitely drill down into the specifics of the whiskey and the backstories, because we got a lot of certainly some connoisseurs in the audience that have been asking about it. But a natural question to ask you, Scott, on the relationship between Idoneus and TokenSociety. Exactly how are you working together?
We're creating COA NFTs for the different one-off collectibles. I mean, for example, with the Craft Irish whiskey bottle. Eventually somebody will own it, they'll take it home, and most likely they probably won't be opening it up to drink. Maybe in 15 or 20 years, they're going to look to sell it. We all know that liquor is something that is very, it's been in the news a lot because there's been a lot of counterfeiting of high, and whiskey bottles, for example. Asia has a big problem with counterfeit champagne. In 20 years from now, someone may want to sell that bottle, and the only way you're ever going to know if that is truly authentic is if you have the coin in your wallet.
It's really in that. So that helps share and explain the relationship on much like a craftsman or maker or the technologist that you bring in, Jarrett, to make the certification NFTs that Scott just described. Jay, just a question to you, just to drill down specifically on whiskey. For pedestrians out there, whiskey is something you get a pour of at a bar. You can walk in a liquor store. It's nothing too crazy high priced. open our minds to, the sort of the depth of the whiskey market.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's whiskey you can buy here for $10 a nip or a pour, and then there's whiskey that some of my whiskeys, for example, might cost you $250,000 for a measure, right? And you would think, well, it's just whiskey is whiskey. Well, a car is just a car. You can buy a car for $5,000 or one for $3.6 million. They're both still cars that get you from A to B, but there's a completely different build process in them, and there's a completely different value add. The Bugatti, there's not so many of them, right? Whereas, for example, with the Emerald Isle that we did and that we sold on to Idoneus for $3 million, there's only 7 of those in existence. They come with the rarest whiskey in existence, right? So you're talking about triple distilled single malt from Ireland is the rarest, above 15 years old. This one's well over 30. That's the rarest whiskey and the rarest spirit on earth. And there's reasons for that, but you have to go through the history books to really understand it, in what happened with Irish whiskey, in that when Irish whiskey survived, it was the largest, the number one produced spirit on the planet was Irish whiskey, all through the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. And then by the early 1900s, when World War I kicked in, and you had Prohibition, and you had World War II, and all these things that happened between like 1914 and the 1940s, Irish whiskey was obliterated. It controlled the whole world up until 1914, and then it just disappeared, and only 4 distilleries survived. And of those 4, only one of them made single malt. And of that one, that was the oldest the licensed distillery ever, which is Bushmills, the first ever licensed distillery on earth. Well, the whiskey that's in the Emerald Isle comes from that distillery. The oldest distillery on earth, the oldest expression of that whiskey on earth, the rarest whiskey on earth, and then we combine that with the Fabergé egg, which is a first of its kind from Fabergé to do a Celtic egg. They've never done an egg with paying homage to Ireland or to Scotland or any of the Celts. They've never put an uncut gemstone inside an egg, which we did. We made a one-of-a-kind watch, the rarest cigars in the world, and they all went in there. So it's not just like, you buy a glass of whiskey over the bar for $10. This is a completely different animal.
Certainly, and just to make sure everyone's following that, you mentioned the Fabergé eggs. What's the relationship between the eggs and the watch that you mentioned and the whiskey itself?
Yeah, so the watch is also made by Fabergé. So it's a Fabergé watch that's one of a kind. What
he's asking is the relationship. It's a whiskey set. We originally started selling for $2 million, and now we're up to about 3.75.
Yeah. So the relationship between us and Fabergé is we wanted to create this whiskey was so rare and so unbelievable. I score whiskeys on a scale of 1 to 10, and like if something gets like an 8.6, it's a unicorn nearly. It's very rare whiskey can score like an 8.6 on our scoring method. To get to a 9.1 is unheard of. To get to a 9.4 is just, it never happens. This whiskey scored like 9.8. It's like, it was I taste barrels every single day, right? When I'm in work, all I do is I've got thousands of barrels and I'm tasting through them and I'm scoring them. When I tasted this particular small little 40-liter barrel that only had 20 liters of liquid in it, and it was the rarest whiskey that I had, it scored the highest. I was like, this deserves to be the most expensive whiskey that ever was. So to do that, to really come with a new brand that wasn't around like Macallan for 200 years, that just sold a whiskey for 1.9 million, well, how do we go break the world record? And it's like, well, let's partner with Fabergé, which is why we brought them in. We did the egg and a watch, combined it all together in an experience box with cigars to really give the ultimate offering. And that's what we did. So the watch is a one of a kind, the egg is a one of a kind. The whole, even though it's a 7-piece collection, each one in that collection is a one of a kind.
And it sounds like a fantastic trio of use cases for authentication and NFTs that we'll get to in a moment. And I think I want to go to you on this question, Jarrett. Just curious minds also want to know, there was something, there was whiskey, there were collectibles like Fabergé eggs certainly, and these watches before blockchain, Jarrett. And so just for foundation, how would you authenticate that, and show that it wasn't a fraud, which, Scott...
Let me jump in here.
Oh, sure.
To date, what's been most common is a certificate of authenticity, which is a piece of paper, okay? And then those obviously became very easy to counterfeit. So then they came up with putting holograms on certificates of authenticity, and holograms became very easy to counterfeit. So that's why we take an NFT, which is placed on the blockchain, and then becomes immutable, and then whoever owns that collectible would also own the NFT. So when you sell the collectible, you transfer the NFT, and then that's your certificate of authenticity. It's a non-fungible token. You can't change.
It's a good fit, right? Because Idoneus is not in the NFT space. We're in the physical asset space, but we want to do everything possible to validate these high-value assets. And not only, to back up a bit, our whole economy is based on verification of who's involved, who are the people, what are their history, are they real? All KYC, AML. What is the asset history? Is it real? Doesn't matter whether it's a piece of art or a bottle of whiskey or a set or a real estate title history. We go to great depths to validate, and Scott can help us with that in transactions like this with Jay and Craft Irish Whiskey and many others.
And certainly, and another, it's such a natural question to ask because, you've referenced high value, several times. There must be a lower limit, though, certainly, on where something's worth it to really pursue authentication.
Sure. We have assets on our platform from a few $1,000s to a few $100 million. So at every level, I think it's worth it, right? If you're buying a $3,000 or $5,000 asset, it's worth it to know it's legitimate, it's real, it's history. It's worth it there.
Yeah, and something we've been working on with TokenSociety and speaking to Scott in depth about is we've got whiskies that start at $600 a bottle, right? And then we've ones that are 5,000, we've ones that are 10,000, 80,000, all the way up to 3.5 million, which is what we just sold the last one for. But regardless if it's $600 or 3.5 million, they're all collectibles, and you need to have authenticity to it. So for me, when I was talking to Scott Weissman about this, it was like, I want to be the first whiskey company ever to have an NFT for every single bottle we produce. There's new whiskey companies that have come out, or whiskey companies that have been around a long time, that have put one whiskey on the blockchain or NFT'd one whiskey for authenticity. No one's ever done it for their entire portfolio, and we want to be the first ones to do that.
Certainly, it sounds like you are, though, already. Where you referenced the auction. Let's walk through that and get everyone up to speed. Since you're the last one to reference it, Jay, let's repeat this back to you. From what the audience knows, there is an auction. It's underway. It started at the $2 million level, and it's already at the $3 million. Unpack that for us.
Yeah, you're talking about the Emerald Isle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the first bottle that we sold was for $2 million, right? Now, we only had 7 bottles. As each one sells, the price goes up, and the valuation, of course, goes up because of the scarcity of the last ones being left. So we sold one for $2 million. We sold another one then for like 2.2. We sold one for 2.7. We then sold one for $3 million. We just sold one for 3.5. So there is, I believe, 2 left. One of them is going to be going at an auction with Bonhams in Hong Kong, middle of kind of March of next year. And yes, so there's basically one left. That's it. It's the last one left in existence. That's for sale. And we're probably going to be looking to not release that for anything less than around 3.75 million.
Okay, it makes sense. And then just to walk us back into the set, the watch and the Fabergé eggs, that's a different auction that you're...
No, that's the Emerald Isle, right? So
There's 7 sets.
Yeah, there's 7 sets. Each one has an egg, a watch, 2 of the rarest cigars on earth, and the rarest whiskey in existence. That all comes in one set.
Certainly, and we can get back to some of the lower limits, because one thing that we can set aside, we'll get back to, because it's very interesting, Jarrett and Scott. It sounds like blockchain offers through NFTs, especially a certain way that all collectibles probably ought to be authenticated that way. It sounds like, just as Scott laid out, paper, holograms, blockchain being a best new technology to use. But in particular on this auction, if people did want to participate, just on the mechanics of it, how do people find it?
Which auction are you talking about? We don't currently have an auction. We don't. Okay, so we have one bottle that purchased for it.
There was one bottle that Idoneus purchased of Emerald Isle, the set, which is available on the Idoneus platform for any Idoneus token holder to purchase, right? One bottle, not an auction.
The first bottle was purchased by me and my 2 business partners at auction for $2 million.
Okay, and then so if you could, because there's some curious minds on how to actually make these NFTs. Is this something you could unpack for us, Scott? Like, how do you make an NFT?
Well, you go onto our platform as an approved creator, which Jarrett and Idoneus are approved creators, so they'll go onto their creator page, and they will take a picture of the asset. It'll be locked into the file and put in the, to the records that we keep, which is we're going to make available so that other people can actually reference it and check it. And very simple. It takes about 3 minutes.
Certainly, and to dig in a bit more on TokenSociety, because obviously I've been to the website. Some of these in the audience have checked out TokenSociety.io. It's up on the screen. some out in this audience and even watching at home are potentially looking for partnerships. Where should they go? Should they be going through an Idoneus or straight to the platform and then work with the auction partner, Scott?
You keep referencing an auction.
I think you want
Do you want us to do an auction?
I meant to say NFT creation partner, Scott.
Yeah. What's your question?
For those who want to partner with you, who should they be going to?
You can call me. You can reach out to us on our email, or you can find us on our website. We're basically working with companies that we know at this point, though. It's a curated site. So we meet people like we met yesterday here that are interested in onboarding some products onto our site for authentication, and hopefully we're going to place the money into Idoneus platform as well.
Certainly, and Jay, a natural thing to ask, it sounds like there's only one of the set left that you established earlier. What's next for Craft Irish Whiskey Co.?
Yeah, so look, we're always going to be releasing, phenomenal whiskeys, but we won't release a whiskey until it's perfect, right? So for me, as the man who's responsible with making sure that the whiskey is going to score as high as it possibly can from a taste perspective, but also from a design perspective, working with my designer, Tiago Russo, we have to sit there and really just wait until the whiskey's ready. So my job when I'm not here or I'm out, talking is to be back in the barrels, tasting and waiting for that next home run. And when that next whiskey is just ready, because you got to understand, whiskey is a living, breathing product, right? So whiskey doesn't just get better with age. That's a fallacy. It does get better with age over time because of oxidation and the fact that it rounds out all the flavor profiles. But what happens is on a monthly basis, you have, for example, ethyl acetate, which is a volatile congener within whiskey. We can see spikes on a quarterly basis of like 130%, which tells us that at any given time at 13.3 years old, it could be perfect, but you wait till it's 15 and it's not as good. So people think that, a 15-year-old is better than a 12-year-old. That's absolutely not fucking true at all. You have to be sitting there and watching and tasting all the time. So for me, the next one is when we find that home run, we'll put a design together that merits that whiskey. We'll partner with somebody. We're partnering and looking to partner with a couple of big people. Obviously, of course, we've had Fabergé. There's a few others in the works that I'm not really allowed to talk to about right now, but probably one of the number one watchmakers on earth, probably the most high-end watchmaker that there is. We're looking at collaborating with, and we're very close to getting that deal done. And there's a couple of other very, very big, well-known brands that we're looking to collab with that we've got in the works. So that's what's next for us after this.
Certainly appreciate that note. And for you, Jarrett, it sounds like you've got at least 3 good use cases for authentication NFTs.
COA NFT.
Yeah, COA NFTs. Sounds like that's just a start. Just to contextualize this, where's the roadmap for Idoneus in terms of authenticating everything that you get through your platform?
It's certainly our plan, right, to have partnerships where we can authenticate every asset possible at every price range. And we're having conversations with Scott and his team and others. We have a large asset portfolio growing very, very quickly. But we have approaching $1 billion in assets on the platform today. It's a lot of authentication to do. But we're going to start with the special assets like this, and then watch the traction and move forward from there. So we intend to do everything possible to validate every single asset on the platform. It's critical, right?
Certainly, and that helps contextualize this. And then just for those to unpack and understand Idoneus' platform, how do you price these goods?
Every asset that comes on the Idoneus platform, it must have an independent, professional, third-party valuation. So it's very simple, as if you price real estate or aircraft or fine jewels or whiskey, the third-party valuation for the Emerald Isle set, third-party valuation for every estate and every diamond and every yacht in the property.
And no auctions, right?
No auctions yet, but I'm going to work on that for you because I know you're excited. No auctions yet.
I
like the idea. We should do it. Let's do it.
Clearly, I can't contain myself, and it's projecting here. Jarrett. Well, we have a few more minutes. Scott, I'll give you the last word here.
Thank you for coming.
It's kind of you to say. Big round of applause. Scott H. Weissman, TokenSociety. Jarrett Preston with Idoneus. Jay Bradley with Craft Irish Whiskey Co. Appreciate you all. And that concludes our program for the day. Thanks for staying for the bonus content. Big round of applause again for Scott Weissman and Token Society for hosting us. And big round of applause for all of you here for joining for this content.